Pam Bondi is being grilled right now on Capitol Hill by not only Democratic senators, but also from Republican senators around the Epstein stuff. And as we know, this is back in the news yet again because the Supreme Court defied Donald Trump and said that they were not going to hear Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal. And so now it's gone back to whether or not Donald Trump is going to pardon her. And so we are learning now through this questioning that there's a lot that we don't know that they do know. And that's all going to come right up. Now, Pam Bondi is doing not very well. She's actually, I don't want to say a B word. She's being a B word during this whole thing because look at how she's talking to a democratically elected senator. Now, you might not agree with this person's politics, but you should at least respect the fact that he represents a lot of Americans. And here she is totally disrespecting him. But real quick, before we get to this, if you could please hit like on this video and subscribe, it helps more people see it. Now let's get to it.
Senator Blumenthal, I cannot believe that you would accuse me of impropriety when you lied about your military service.
I am
you
not
lied.
asking
You admitted you
I am
lied
not
to be
accusing you
elected
of
a U.S. senator.
impropriety.
You
I'm asking
lied.
you
How
about
dare you? I'm a
conversations
career prosecutor.
with Mr.
Don't you
Ballard,
ever challenge my integrity.
had
I have
apparently-
abided by every ethics standard. Do not question my ability to be fair and impartial as Attorney General, and anything
You'll
with
answer that
my
question to
former
another of my
firm,
colleagues.
Ballard Partners.
Thank you.
Now, a couple of things about this moment, which I think are important, as you can see here, only has 14,000 views. Unless someone watches this, probably not many people are going to see it, but I thought it was very telling. I think this is the problem with the Democratic Party, is that they are out-weaponed. And Senator Blumenthal has led a very long, incredible, important career, but he's obviously outmatched here. And I really do think part of the problem is that Pam Bondi is at least 30 years, 20 years younger than him. And you can tell here in this exchange that she just understands the media environment in a way that he doesn't. He's just trying to do the normal job that he had 20 years ago in a completely different media environment. And you can tell here that Pam Bondi, when she says that thing about him, she had Oppo research ready to go. Watch this one more time. Watch her look down.
I cannot believe that you would accuse me of impropriety when you lied about your military service.
I am
you
not
lied.
asking.
And see, she's looking back at her notes here because she is trying to redirect what this moment's going to be. So she knew he was going to ask her a question that she didn't want to answer. So instead, she's attacking him. Now, Senator Blumenthal, if he understood the media environment better, would have be able to better counter what she's doing there. I probably, if I were a senator in that moment, I would have pointed out what she's doing. I know you're looking at your notes instead of actually answering the questions that the American people want to hear from. I know that you have notes there to try to distract the American people from what we're actually trying to talk about today. And whatever. But instead, he just kind of lets her roll over him. And she also did that here with Pam Bondi not answering a question from a representative. It should be illegal. Not answering questions should be illegal. It should be illegal. If you're under oath and you're not answering a question, that should be illegal.
Senator Coons, I'm not going to discuss any legal advice that my department may or may not have given or issued at the direction of the president on this matter. Regarding Venezuela, what I can tell you is Maduro is a narco-terrorist.
Yeah, so she says, I'm not going to answer any of your questions. It's just very disrespectful. Disrespectful. Now, I want to show you these parts with Pam Bondi and the Epstein stuff are very telling. I think she basically admits from a mission about what is in those files. She obviously has seen the files. She's obviously seen the files. Now, before we get to that, I have to show you the background of what led us to where we are today. Because Donald Trump yesterday was asked if he would consider pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, because, of course, the only way that she's going to get off now, since SCOTUS is not taking her appeal, is for him to pardon her. And here's what he had to say about that. It's very short.
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
You know, I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
Okay, now when he says I will speak to the DOJ, he means he's going to speak to Pam Bondi. And he's also not saying no. So there's two things happening here. One, Donald Trump can't say no because he needs Ghislaine Maxwell to think that he could maybe do it. So he has to leave ambiguity in this in order for her to think there's a potential that she could get pardoned. Now, he's going to pardon her? I don't know. I think if you're MAGA, it should be very telling to you that he just won't say no because she is probably, the most notorious child sex trafficker alive today? And the President of the United States isn't ruling out a pardon. I don't know if he will eventually pardon her, but I think the fact that he won't say no is very telling. And he needs to not say no in order for her to stay silent. And I think he put her in a minimum security prison in order for like a sign of goodwill. So she just keeps her mouth shut. Now, secondly, the fact that he's saying, I don't know anything about Ghislaine, and it's just very, to me, it's what he always does, or he tries to create this distance that doesn't exist. Now, Pam Bondi was asked whether or not the FBI found photos of Trump with naked women. And here's what she doesn't say.
Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe. I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman.
I'm going to pause it there for a second, because look, she's doing it again. Pam Bondi looking at her notes. She doesn't want to answer the question, so she redirects an attack that may or may not be true. But this is a clear... Now, we have seen these people on the stand, or whatever you call it, at a hearing enough, that they should know that this is what they do. Kash Patel did this nonstop. They should have a strategy going into this to make sure that she doesn't get away with it. It seems like they're pretty flat-footed, but let's keep going.
Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
Her face. Oh my God. That's the thumbnail. Okay. Now, what was incredible is that she was asked more about this and again, refused to answer. I'm telling you, not saying something is just as telling as saying something. She could very easily say no. She refuses to say no. She says no multiple times throughout this hearing about other things. Won't say no about this.
The quarrel with you is to read somebody that you mentioned I never heard of.
Reid Hoffman.
So who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this. You won't do it today, but eventually you will. I yield, Mr. Chairman. The quarrel with you.
Yeah, so again, she's just not answering, and she was actually grilled by a Republican senator about this because, as we said on the channel a couple of days ago, Howard Lutnick, who I always want to call Nutlick, that's my first thought, was on a random interview and just randomly said that he went over Jeffrey Epstein's house and he saw a massage table. It's very strange, and apparently the Trump administration is very upset that he did that. But Senator Kennedy here is literally asking about that, and here's that.
Secretary Howard Lutnick on October 1 gave an interview to the New York Post about Mr. Epstein. And he described Mr. Epstein as, quote, the greatest blackmailer ever, close quote. Have you reviewed that transcript of that interview?
I have not reviewed the transcript, but I saw the clip of it.
Okay. It appears that Secretary Lutnick was Mr. Epstein's next door neighbor. In fact, their townhomes shared a wall. And the reporter that was talking to Mr. Lutnick, she asked how other prominent men could have been associated with Epstein when Mr. Lutnick could immediately sense that he was a, quote, pervert. And then Secretary Lutnick said, or rather the reporter said, did they see it and ignore it? Do you remember that from the interview?
I do.
And Commerce Secretary Lutnick said, no, they participated. And then Commerce Secretary Lutnick goes on to say, quote, that's what his MO was. You know, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was a video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever, blackmailed people. That's how he had money, end quote. Is that true?
Senator, as our July memo said, we did not uncover evidence. This case has gone through 3 administrations, as well as former U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta.
I know that, Pam. But have you interviewed Secretary Lutnick?
No, Senator.
Do you plan to?
If he wants to talk to the FBI or the FBI wants to talk to him, that is more than on.
Don't you think you ought to talk to him after this interview?
Senator, if Howard Lutnick wants to speak to the FBI and if Director Patel wants to speak to Howard Lutnick, absolutely.
Okay. Maybe we ought to get Mr. Lutnick in here too, Mr. Chairman.
Incredible, right? Incredible. So this isn't going away. Kennedy there obviously can tell that this is bad for the president, and so he is twisting in the knife. We're going to keep following this. It's actually I thought, a very telling hearing. Sometimes these hearings I just feel like are not very productive. I thought this is a very productive hearing, and I'm grateful I could bring it to you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.